With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to move on to a session fueled by the creative impetus of our knowledge partner, the Advertising Standards Council of India. Leading the conversation as a moderator, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Subhash Kamath, Chairman of the Advertising Standards Council of India and CEO of BBH India. We also have two special guest speakers joining the conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Piyush Pandey, Chairman of Global Creative Ogilvy Worldwide and Executive Chairman Ogilvy India. Well, I would also like to invite on stage Mr. Rohit Kumar Singh, Secretary, Minister of Consumer Affairs and Food Distribution. May we please have a big round of applause for the man. With that, the topic for the day will be on Stronger Together, Consumer Safety in Digital Bharat. Gentlemen, the stage is yours.
All right. Imagine having these two gentlemen on stage with me. Yeah, you can't get. One is the voice of creative freedom, and the other oversees the monitoring of consumer protection. Having these two extremely important gentlemen on stage is fantastic. This is a very, very important topic. So I had a question to kick it off to both of you, and perhaps Rohit, you can answer first, and then Piyush, you can go. It's a conceptual question. Creativity, by its very nature, doesn't like boundaries. We use and we celebrate words like pushing the envelope, thinking outside the box, flying off the edge, and so on. So creativity likes to explore newer places. And yet consumer protection does require some responsibility and some guardrails, right? Now, ideal case, both go hand in hand beautifully. But do you think there's a conflict here? Or do you think they can coexist beautifully together?
I don't think there's any conflict here. In government, we love creativity. When some riots happen in one city, we have this standard statement which is there for last 50 years. The situation is tense but under control. How more creative can you get from that? But jokes apart, I mean, as long as the creativity is not misleading the consumers or the customers, I think that's the key word. So as long as it is fun and it is pushing the product to be sold and it is generating more eyeballs and more interest in the product, it's all fine. But when it crosses the boundary of misleading the customer, that's where we would like to intervene, because we don't want the consumer to be taken for a ride.
Piyush, what's your point of view?
I think the simple question is, even before I come to consumer protection, is that we are all commercial artists. Each one of us is a commercial artist. We are not creating something which we can put up in our room and feel very good about. Somebody is paying for it, and you have to do justice to it. Somebody is paying for the product from the market. You have to do justice to them. So creativity has its boundaries. You want to get more creative, you want to raise the bar, but you can't jump out the stadium and crush somebody else. So I agree that protection is another thing, leading, misleading is another issue. But the first definition of creativity is that you are not screwing up somebody else's life. That's simple.
I remember, Piyush, you had once said that you wouldn't want to put out any ad out there that you couldn't get your own mother to see. That's a form of self-regulation.
I believe it, that if you cannot show any piece of communication to your family, then you can't show it to anybody else's family. As simple.
Valid point. So from the government's perspective, now with the CPA fully in place, the CCPA having been formed over the last few years, what are the top priorities, you would say, from a consumer protection perspective? What is it that you'd be really keeping an eye on?
I think we are keeping an eye on, as I said, the key word is misleading. I'll give you a few examples. Like, we had a toothpaste, we said we are number one in the world. So we asked them, come on, how? I mean, who told you are number one? Then we had a shirt company saying, if you wear my shirt, the corona will go away. I said, what is this? We had a specs company which says, if you wear my specs, your eyesight will improve. I've been a health secretary of Rajasthan for 3 years. I haven't seen any study that by wearing specs, your eyesight can improve. So this is misleading. So one is the biggest focus is on misleading. The second is on, bait advertising. Get this for 99 paisa, get this for 50 paisa, get this for 1 rupee. So we can't, it's not acceptable, the bait advertising. And then, on a TV sale, a particular website says, for 200 rupees, get this gold jewelry. It's not even saying golden, it says gold jewelry. So we asked them, what is this? And then we had to impose penalties on all the examples that I gave. So again, the core is, please don't fool the consumer. He's vulnerable, and the advertising, paradigm is changing, and the stalwarts that we have here. I'm also from Rajasthan, Kadar. He's a big celebrity all over India, but he's a bigger celebrity in Rajasthan, and we all admire him to the hilt. The issue is, in this new paradigm that has emerged over the last 3-4 years, and as was also mentioned in the previous session, where customer acquisition is the key. We have to exponentially hit at customer acquisition. Now, what are you compromising there? In this mad race for customer acquisition and valuations and the unicorns, are you compromising the consumer interest? That is the only thing that concerns us in the government.
So that leads me to an adjacent question, which is consumer awareness is going up thanks to internet, thanks to access that they have. But at the same time, there is a feeling that consumers are also becoming more vulnerable because their entire data is now available to marketeers, where they shop, what they do, and that data is being mined, and that mining of those insights is leading to performance creative marketing, targeted marketing, and so on and so forth. So is there something that we need to look at from a protection of that as well, apart from just the messaging?
So you're very right. I think, unless I have permitted you to use my data, you cannot use that data. And data protection bill is before the parliament. I think next session it will get passed. And that defines the boundaries that what data can be shared by e-commerce players or other players. The other thing is, if I can mention, last week only, I personally issued notices to Uber and Ola, the taxi aggregators. I said, your algorithms are not fair. Your cancellation charges, the way you calculate fares. For example, if I go from place A to B every day, from my home to office, I get charged rupees X. But if you are the first time user from the same point A to same point B, you are being charged Y, where Y is less than X. So I'm asking them, I've called them on 10th of May. I said, why is that happening? Because you can't, and here it is literally, you can't take the consumer for a ride.
Right.
So we have to, if we don't protect, I know I'm the odd person out in this room, but having said that, if we don't look after the interests of the consumer, who will? And we have a national consumer helpline where I get 4,000 calls every day. And we did a little analytics of the calls, and we realized that over the last 4 years, the calls pertaining to e-commerce have grown from 8% to 44%. Now, that means there is something wrong somewhere. In this mad race for customer acquisition, consumer acquisition, something is going wrong somewhere. We had Amazon in our office yesterday, and we said, please make your grievance redressal system more robust. And they promised to look at it. So these are some of the things that we're doing.
You had a question for you coming from what you just said.
First of all, I want to say something, that you're not the odd person in this room. I don't think there is a lot of people who want to mislead people. Right, guys? Yeah.
I'm the only Sarkari person in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Piyush, the question I had, and one of the things that Manish and I were talking about, an analysis of the kind of ads and complaints that have come to ASCI in recent times. A lot of them are to what he was talking about, those technical claims, 5x stronger, 3x weaker, whiter. More and more of those ads, especially from FMCG, are coming out, right? And then I'm also hearing, in the previous session we heard about short form videos, 5-seconders, 10-seconders. That's the kind of thing that people are consuming online, and that's going to be the future. And therefore, I'm seeing a lot of functional kind of claim-driven advertising rising. And is that, you think that is somewhere a trend of the times, or is it going to kill the kind of creativity that you're known for, that we've all loved?
No. I think nobody is going to kill creativity. Because what I heard in the session was, you have to touch millions of hearts. The day you can touch millions of hearts in 3 seconds, I will give you a Padma Vibhushan. So, wake up and smell the coffee. It's like saying that there will be a day when you have 150 hoardings on the way to the airport, and that will change your mind. No, consumer is not a moron. She is your wife, as David Ogilvy said much earlier. So that's a separate topic. That's a separate topic. But coming back to what he was saying, that they are trying to have a dialogue. I loved what he said, that we were trying to speak to these people. Can you make your system more robust? Now, when you use language like that, you are hearing from somebody who is not penalizing you, jumping into penalizing you, but sharing problems and keeping it known to you that we are watching, we are guiding you right now. If you don't take the guidance, one day we'll have to come down a bit hard on you. So I love that. This is probably the best PPP model that we can develop, where I don't fear you as a government. You caution me, you penalize me when you have to, as per the rules of the game. If we are following the law of the land, we'll have to follow the law of the land. And there will be times when we will need you. And I love the thing what you said about consumer protection. We would, as an industry, would like you to make a representation to state chief ministers and their home ministers that the salesman of a shop is also a consumer of many things in life. If somebody is coming to, with dandas to beat him up, then we need protection. We need protection, otherwise law will be taken in the hands by the people.
PPP, you've been a proponent of that, public-private partnership. You believe in it, you've championed it. From an advertising industry perspective, advertising, marketing, how would you suggest we form a great partnership with the regulator?
So I worked in infrastructure for 7 years in highway sector, and one of the highways you see while coming from airport was also, gone through our files and signatures. PPP is where, when PPP succeeds, that's a critical question. When we took over in 2012 and 13, the PPPs were going down. And then we did a quick study as to what was happening. And when you assign risks unreasonably between public and private partners, then the PPP is bound to fail. When the risk allocation is fair, then only it succeeds. That's for infrastructure. On this subject, as Piyush ji said, we would like to talk to the stakeholders as to where are the pain points, where things are likely to go wrong. And like we sit with you, we have had several meetings with ASCI, and we try to understand what is the issue, why some of the ads are going the way they should not go. And then, so like Uber, Ola example, the Amazons and the Flipkarts, we hold meetings on a regular basis, and we try and put sense into them. But like he said, beyond a point, if you don't, then there are penalties available.
Yeah. In fact, we had a very interesting conversation with some celebrities who were very worried about the fact that they can now be penalized for claims. And they were saying, we are not the owner of the brand. How do we know? I'm acting in a commercial to say I'm driving this car. I don't know the technicalities of the car. And therefore at ASCI, we're actually now trying to put together a panel of technical experts to help them get some due diligence, what's your take on that?
So we have finalized the new guidelines for advertising. We're just going through the last bit of the cutting the T's and dotting the I's with our legal people. And hopefully they should be released in 10, 15 days time from now. And there is a chapter on the responsibility of the endorsers and what is the responsibility. So somebody who says, I don't know anything about the car, but I'm endorsing the car, that is irresponsible, or it is bordering irresponsibility. If you're endorsing a product, even if you don't know everything about it, you have to have reasonable information about the product, about the USPs of the product, about what you are pitching for. The celebrities cannot run away. Yesterday, I faced a parliamentary committee where this issue came up, and we said, celebrities have to take responsibilities. You can't eat tobacco, on television and let the country know that you are enjoying the tobacco product, where there is a law against it, where So celebrities have to take responsibility, definitely.
This is going to be a tricky one for you because celebrities are now appearing in a different name as called influencers.
Yes, I was coming to that.
Exactly. So, I agree with you to some extent. I don't fully agree with you, like you said about cars. That if you get into the nitty-gritties of a car, even when you run or own a car and run it, even you do not know about it. I do not know about it. But if my car is running well, I should have the license to say it's a great car to drive in. So you'll have to get into those nitty-gritties to a certain extent. And other thing, Subhash, to your question, I think the answer for celebrities is that any penalization will come to you, Mr. Client. It's not my problem. Because if you're telling me it's a wonderful car, I drove it around, but I can't become a car mechanic overnight. So if you want me, then you take the responsibility of any penalty on me. And those kind of things.
So if I may add, with your permission.
Please.
Celebrity has to do some amount of due diligence. And that's where, you talked about PPP. Your partnership has come in handy. Manisha Kapoor has provided me documents of how European Union and FTC of USA deals with celebrity endorsements. And there are some wonderful examples. I was just reading on the flight from Delhi this afternoon. And I saw some 10 examples which dealt with the nuances of what Piyushji said. As to, about a car, or there was an example about, a baseball player and a model, and the model talking about the baseball bat, and the baseball player talking about the cooking thing that the model was doing. And even there, the FTC of USA has said, what is the extent of responsibility? So the issue is, sir, recklessly, the celebrities cannot endorse products. They have to do some due diligence. And we are very worried about ed tech now, the Byju's and all other ed tech companies, as to how, celebrities are pushing kids to getting tuitions, getting outside help, which is not a good thing for our country, which is not a good thing for our system. I may be sounding like I'm preaching, but I think inside you also realize that, they are not the best solution for our education system. So if somebody is endorsing an edtech product, he has to do some due diligence as to whether he or she is doing the right thing or not. I mean, my thought.
No, that's fair enough that you don't walk in blind. You don't walk in blind. Otherwise, we can discuss till the cows come home that the celebrity may not have gone beyond class 10 before he became a movie star. But he has a child who's 7 years old. Maybe he has subscribed. So you'll have to find the right balance in what capacity are you recommending. And I think it's not such a dangerous thing these days. You think people are idiots to take them seriously? When you see, they are school भी नहीं गए थे, मुझे बता रहा बच्चों के education के बारे में. So you are quite on a safety network of intelligent people in this country. You can safeguard for legality, but they won't get away, for sure. I mean, if you see the IPL, there are some 20 celebrities on one IPL match. There's the same celebrity 5 times in the same ad. There are double role is common. 3 celebrities is also seen. You think they'll all get away by selling a whole lot of stuff? I have my doubts.
Also, Rohit, the definition of endorser, as Piyush pointed out, is a wide one. Celebrities, yes, I understand. Film stars or cricketers who earn crores by endorsing a brand, right? And therefore, when you say there will be a X amount of penalty if you're found to be misleading more than once or whatever, or you haven't done your due diligence. But then if you look at the way influencer marketing is exponentially growing in this country, there are people, 5,000 followers, they are saying something about a brand, they might be getting paid 10,000 rupees for it. How do you penalize that? I mean, we've done a very strong attempt at using influencer guidelines to help people at least voluntarily disclose that this is a paid for promotion, etc. And that is starting to have very good traction. But there will be people who will, how do you can't have one sweeping stroke for all of them. You can't judge an Amitabh Bachchan.
To add to that, Rohit, what he's saying is, where do you draw the line that who's a celebrity? Does he influence 100 people, 10 million people, 55 people? Who is a celebrity?
So there is a difference between celebrity and an endorser. And I again go back to the FTC guidelines and the EU guidelines. They define it very clearly. And they also talk about these so-called influencers, 5,000. So these things are evolving. Right. And it's a cat and mouse game. And like George Bernard Shaw said, policeman is just a critic. The artist is a thief. So, we have to... So So we have to keep in this, the idea is, you have to keep the consumers protected to the extent possible. If somebody is, willfully wanting to jump from the bridge, I mean, we can't do that. But if somebody is led, along the garden paths without unknowingly, or some fence sitter, his, purchase decision is being influenced in a wrong manner. So, I mean, nobody is going to jail for the first offense.
Yeah.
So there are, steps, you penalize, you show notice, and then you say you can't endorse for 3 years, and then you go to the next step. But if somebody is a habitual offender, of course he has to go to jail.
Fair. Yeah. Usually the other side of it is the number of creators that are, earlier there used to be few creators and they were really, really cherished. Today everybody is a creative person. There is a person putting out content and it's fantastic. I mean,
which is a nice thing.
Across the country, young people creating content, maybe right, maybe wrong, maybe craft might be, they don't have the budgets, but everyone is creating and more such things are coming up. How would you harness that power from your vantage position as the creative guru?
I think the way to harness is to identify those great creative minds, put them into scenarios where either you can pay a handsome salary to them or you can help them to make their own businesses. See, right now, a whole lot of creativity we are seeing is expression. When they convert it into commerce, then they will grow, the industry will grow, the country will grow. So that we have to nudge, encourage, motivate. कि यार घर में बैठ के अगर दिखाएगा अपनी मदर को और अपने दोस्तों को jokes, that's not good enough. That's not going to pay for your meals. So that's the way of harnessing, motivating. That's the way I see it.
And from a policing perspective, from a monitoring perspective, right, in the whole digital social age, it's very tough. It's not easy like it used to be, because ads can be created and taken off within 24 hours. And we've caught quite a few of these people who just put out some very crazy claim, we had to stop them, but I'm taking it off, right? It's very difficult to monitor that.
It's tough, yeah. So we are using new and emerging technologies, and I don't know whether the topic came, the fake reviews. So we are using, again in consultation with you guys, artificially intelligent algorithms, the crawlers, which goes through the reviews and then pick up patterns and okay, all these good reviews are coming from Turkey, on the bad ones are coming from Bangladesh. So maybe there is somebody behind it who is trying to influence. It's just like the fake likes and the fake followers on Twitter. So, it's a constant cat and mouse game, as I said.
That's right. Gentlemen, I understand this is a very, very important topic, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have.
All right.
Running really short.
Our time has come.
Our time came 1.5 hours back. We waited for an hour and a half, but we'll respect time.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you very much.
But
It's been fantastic having you guys both.
Thank you.
Means a lot for our industry. Big hand, guys.